Alright, let's make a foily, shiny, reflective skateboard deck in Unreal, and let's make the whole thing shiny, and then let's also see how we can make just certain parts of it shiny and the rest be normal. Fairly simple. If you're familiar with replacing textures on decks, it's a very similar process with just a few extras. So what we're going to do is very similar to replacing textures. We're going to go into uModel, and I'm not going to get into how to access all that. I feel like this is kind of, you should already know that if you're doing this one. We're going to find our game folder, customization, skateboard, deck graphics, and we're going to find a material that we want to edit. We're going to be working with materials here. So I'm privy to this deck. It's the Very Big Egg by Heroin. Love that deck. Skate it all the time. What we're going to do is we're going to export that material, MIDG Heroin Very Big Egg U asset. Click export. And we're just going to save that wherever you save your mod assets. This is my folder. All these settings here are fine. I've already done this, but you may see it pop up asking which version of Unreal to use. Make sure you select 4.27. It's the current version of Unreal Session is using. So next we need to set up our folder structure. So if you haven't already, start a new project in Unreal, label it whatever. I've called mine Foil Deck Tutorial. So what we need to do is find two folders here. First, I'm going to go to my mod assets folder that I exported my uModel material in. So that'll be in the game folder, wherever you exported it. It'll be in game, customization, skateboards, deck graphics, heroin, material. So that's all there. So that folder structure is crucial for this to work. So leave this folder open. Next, open your Unreal projects folder, wherever that may be on your computer. This is where all of your Unreal Engine project data gets saved to. So mine's in documents here, maybe somewhere else, but it'll be the folder where all of your projects live. So Foil Deck Tutorial, that's the name of my project. That's the name of my folder over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this Unreal Projects folder up, navigate to content. Then what we're going to do is we're going to copy this customization folder, and we're going to put it into our Unreal Projects folder. And if you look down here, you'll see that it just says content. Once I Control C and Control V over into the content folder, you'll see that customization comes in here. It also comes in here. So that means that our all of our folders that I just went through are in the proper order, and nothing's out of place, and there's no typos. These are all common things that can happen while you're doing any kind of modding for a session that can screw things up. So just make sure copying the customization folder over to the content folder is the easiest way to ensure you don't screw anything up. So now that we're in Unreal here, we have our folder set up. We want to go to our Heroin folder and our Materials folder. You'll see it's blank. It's fine. We're going to make a new material, but before we do that, let's go back to our uModel asset folder that we just copied over. And let's go to the Heroin folder, materials, and let's just, this is the material we exported from uModel. Let's just do F2 to highlight the text, and Control C, because we need to make sure this name matches up exactly with the new material we make, otherwise it won't work. This is just the easiest way to do that without, ensuring there's no typos or anything. So back to Unreal, we're in the materials folder. We're going to right click and select a new material. We're going to Control V to make sure that name exactly copies over correctly. Cool. So we have our folder structure and we have our material name. Next thing we need to do is bring in our texture we want to use. So I'm going to go just down to this textures folder here. So I'm going to come into my mod assets folder here and I'm going to find a file I already made for this example. It's called foil deck texture. And I'm just going to bring that right into Unreal. Cool. So we have our texture and our material. Just a quick note, texture names don't matter for this particular tutorial. I know replacing board graphics, I believe it is the case, but since we are working in a material, we won't need to necessarily worry about that. So let's jump back to the materials folder and let's double click to get into our material editor. So here you'll see we have a blank material, really nothing going on with it, no nodes doing any of the material editing. I'm just going to drag this tab over so I have quick access to back and forth. So what we need to do here is we need to map our texture to this material as well as make it shiny. So the texture I just brought in we're going to use to get started. What we need to do is open up our texture sample node. So if you right click and search text, texture sample is what we're going to use. It's highlighted. It's a very commonly used node here. As you can see, there's a bunch of other different texture sample nodes. So what I actually recommend instead of doing it this way, there's a keyboard shortcut. If you just hold T and left click, this will bring up the texture sample node and you'll be good to go. So you got your texture sample node. Now we need to come down to the material expression texture base and search for our material that we want to use. Foil deck texture. Great. So it populates here. And then all we need to do is grab this RGB and connect it to the base color. And let's switch this to a plain. Cool. So as of right now, this is what our material is looking like. Just plain dull, no shine, nothing. If you want to make the entire board shiny and metallic, we need to work with the metallic and roughness settings here. Roughness will make it reflective. And I'm sorry, roughness will make it, kind of reflective, and then metallic will give it that extra bit of shine, like mirror-like quality. So what we got to do in order to manipulate those, we need to open up a constant. And what that'll, if you do hold 1 on the keyboard and left click, this brings up your constant value. What this does is basically tells a parameter to be between 0 and 1. So right away with the value set to 0, you want to connect that to roughness. So I'll have 0 roughness, and as you can see already, it's starting to reflect the environment around it. And then for the metallic value, we'll hold down 1 and left click again, bring up another constant, but we want to change this to 1. And this will give this like 100% metallic. So as you can see now, it looks way shinier, way more mirror-like. And if this is good enough for you, if you want the entire deck to look metallic and shiny and reflective, your tutorial ends here. Not quite, actually. What we need to do is apply this. So we're saving these settings. And then if this is your first time editing a material, there are 2 settings we need to change in project settings that will allow you to see your edited material. So if you go to Edit, Project Settings, you need to search up here in the search box for Share Material Shader Code. Make sure that is set to false. I already did this. By default, it's set to true. Make sure you switch it to false. And the last setting you need to change is Allow Static. And make sure Allow Static Lighting is set to false. Defaults to true, make sure it's false. If you have these settings set to true, your custom materials will either not work at all or will look very weird. So with those settings set to false, just close this out. Save all to make sure you saved your material and texture settings, and you can just cook content for Windows and then install it like you would any other mod in session. For fun, let's just do it. And you can ignore this. All right, we are done cooking, and let's go find our cooked file. So we go to Unreal Projects, find our foil deck tutorial. We're gonna go down to Saved, Cooked, Windows, foil deck tut, content. And then this folder is what we need to zip and bring into Session Mod Manager. Let's just do a quick double check to make sure no other folders came along. Great, these are the only folders we need. So you just right click, and WinRAR or WinZip, whatever you use, and you can just call this foil deck. And you can drag it into Session Mod Manager. And there you go. You should be good. Make sure you import foil deck. So if that's all you need to see, great. I already tested this, so I know it works. But if you want to go one step further with this, keep watching. So say you like the foil deck look, but you wanted just the logo and the text to be not foily. So you have a foil background, but the logo is non-foiled. What you need to do for that is, this file is already set up this way, but you need to have a texture that is 32 bits and has an alpha channel. So as you can see, if I go into my texture file, it's cut out right where the logo is and the text is. That's because I have an alpha channel there. And that is done in Photoshop. So let me, here, I can redo this for you really quick from scratch. So this is our starting generic texture. And actually I'm noticing that there is a little green line, that I don't like. So real quick, I'm going to just increase the scale by 101%. Okay. Green line appears to be gone. Not quite. Oh, that's why. Okay. Green line is gone. So what we need to do, if you want to mask out anything in Unreal, we need to give this an alpha channel. And we need to tell Unreal what we want masked. So what I'm going to do here is, first I'm just going to select the area of the image that I want masked. So I'll grab my selection tool and just do a quick selecting of everything I want to cut out. Doesn't have to be perfect for this example, so let's cut. Alright, so I have everything selected that I want. So what I'm going to do is actually invert this selection, so I just grab the background. So the way I do that is select inverse. So now everything is the background is selected, but the logo text isn't. It seems a little backwards, I'm sure. Next we're going to do is come over to channels, and we're going to add a new channel here. As you see, it's called alpha. So then what we want to do is go up to, so with our stuff still selected, we want to go to edit, fill, and fill it with white. So what this is basically saying is that anything white is going to be visible and anything black isn't. And that will translate into Unreal as like a mask and not masked. So we have our alpha channel set up. Let's make sure all of our layers are on. We need to save this as a targa. So if you go to save a copy, make sure it's set to targa alpha channels. Needs to be selected, and make sure this is set to 32-bit. Okay. Like I said, I already have the graphics set up that way. That was just a quick little side tutorial on how to set up a masked texture file so that you can mask out in certain areas. So now that we have that set up, I'm going to just delete these because we don't need these for this this part. So what I need to do now is tell Unreal we want to mask out just the logo. The way we do that is we're going to use something called a lerp node. You hold down L on the keyboard and left click, it brings up a lerp. This is like a linear interpolation node. Basically, it just allows you to combine things, yeah, it's kind of it's a very useful node. What we're going to do now is just, since this file has an alpha channel, we're going to drag this alpha node into the lerp node. If you click this arrow, you can kind of see what you're working with here. And then we're going to bring this into the, let's bring this into the roughness. Okay, so I did the opposite of what I wanted to do. So all I need to do now is just flip these two values. So instead of this needs to be 0 and this needs to be 1. So now you can see that the background of the deck is shiny and reflective, and the logo isn't. We're going to add one more lerp node. That's L and left click. We're going to grab the same alpha channel, and we're going to throw this into metallic. And now you can see that we have that super shiny background, and the logo is plain. And if you wanted, you could, if you wanted the opposite way, just change the two values on this node. So you can make this 0, make this 1. And now you have just a foily logo. So however you want to do it. I think either way looks cool, but I think this one, I don't know, this seems more interesting to me. Yeah, so that's that. Same thing applies. So if this is kind of where my tutorial ends, we'll apply it. We will come back. We will save all. We will file content for Windows, and then I'll show you once this is done the big reveal. So stay tuned. All right, so we're done cooking. Let's go back to our Unreal projects, foil deck tutorial, saved, cooked, Windows editor, foil deck 2 content, and we will zip this, call this foil test 2, foil test 2. Open up Session Mod Manager. Jesus Christ. And I'm actually going to delete these previous test decks just to make sure we're working with a clean slate here. Bring in our foil test 2. Great. Now let's open up Session and see if our heroine very large egg deck turned into the thing that we want. So I believe I already have it equipped. Let's see. there you have it. You have a very, very shiny background with a matte logo. Let's see if we can't show this off in a quick 360 flip down these stairs, huh? I'll take the varial flip. Oh, you see how foily that is? This reflects the entire world. That's pretty sick. So, hopefully you found this useful and enjoy it.